Welcome back to Trash Panda Sports. Today for you, we have the 2020 Fantasy Football Rookie Preview, Running Back Edition. We're going to go over the running backs that will have the most fantasy impact this year and what kind of impact you can expect out of them. First off, let's get into our immediate impact, possible dynasty stud players. In front of you, you see Jonathan Taylor, running back, Indianapolis Colts. This guy is a monster. Think Derrick Henry. 5'10", 226, runs a 4.39 40. That's a brick wall with the engine of a Maserati. More importantly is I want you to look below that and see that Marlon Mack, who had a great year in fantasy last year for the Indianapolis Colts, is an unrestricted free agent in 2021. So while Jonathan Taylor is definitely going to get the ball this year, we highlight that he's more of a dynasty stud because Marlon Mack, most likely 99.999% will not be re-signed to the Indianapolis Colts next year, making Jonathan Taylor a dynasty stud. Lock this guy up. Immediate impact from this guy, you can probably expect him to split carries maybe early on in the season. He won't get as much, maybe 5 to 10 touches a game. But as the season progresses, Indy might look to move on from Marlon Mack, whether it be a trade or just an outright dump. But Jonathan Taylor, by midseason, should be getting 15, 20 touches a game, giving him immediate dynasty impact. The other guy we have on this list is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Obviously, we saw the production out of him at LSU. He was a highlight reel, but you have to understand there that he also had tremendous weapons around him, okay? But why that doesn't matter in the translation to the NFL? Because he went to the Kansas City Chiefs, where he has tremendous offensive weapons around him. Another thing to highlight for Mr. Edwards-Helaire is that Damian Williams is an unrestricted free agent in 2021. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, we're going to look at his numbers, 5'7", 207. Surprisingly, 4.640. So his speed on the measurements doesn't jump off the scale. However, we've heard the term a million times, football speed. This guy has football speed. If you watch the tape, he just can run away from people. And that's with the 4.640. It's just on a football field, it translates differently sometimes. And this guy has it. Okay, you also looked at he had put up 15 on the bench press. Taylor put up 17. So it's for a little guy, think of Warwick Dunn, think of MJD. He's got the punch. All right. So you put him plug and play into the Kansas City offense. Damian Williams has also been banged up through his career. This guy's going to get touches right away. And he's got guys around him like Tyreek Hill, Patty Mahomes, Khalija Lipscomb, Mecole Hardman. They have speed and talent all over this field. This guy's going to put up some fantasy numbers. The only thing I worry about is if you're relying upon him as a running back 1 or 2, he might disappear in some games. He might end up with only 60, 70 yards, and he might not get that score that you need to be relevant in fantasy. But then he's going to have monster games where he breaks off $150 and has 3 scores. Kansas City's defense isn't phenomenal, so they get in a lot of shootouts. So there could be potentially 15 to 20 touchdowns from this guy this year. You just never know. So these are the guys that immediate impact out of the running back position and could become dynasty studs as of next year because you see the unrestricted free agent status from Marlon Mack and Damian Williams. On to our next one. Next up, we have immediate impact players that are situation-based. I'm not saying these guys don't have talent. I'm just saying I have a gut feeling that the talent that they have might not translate as well in the NFL. They might not be the studs that they were in college, okay? The NFL game is a bit different, and sometimes the players that come out of these programs don't match, okay? And it all depends on the system they go to and things of that nature. However, The reason I say that this is situation-based, Cam Akers walks into an LA Rams offense minus Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley is no longer there. Cam Akers, talent-wise and opportunity-wise, should be the number one running back there this year. They got a couple other guys, Darrell Henderson, and then a couple other younger guys they drafted over the last year or two that could push for some touches, but based on talent alone, Cam Akers should be getting 20 to 30 touches in that offense a game. Once again, another offense that could put up numbers, so Cam Akers is a guy to look out for. We'll look at his stats real quick. His junior year, which is last year with Florida State, 231 for 1144, averaging 5 yards a carry, and not a good offense, too. So him being the number one offensive player on that team, he was facing stacked boxes left and right, still averaged 5 yards a carry, had 14 touchdowns, caught 30 balls for 225 with a 7.5 average per touch, 4 additional receiving touchdowns. That means he can do it all. Now we'll see if he can translate to the NFL game. That's why I think it's situation-based. But if he does, he could put up some solid fantasy numbers for you. I don't know if it's going to put up the numbers where you're going to have to draft him at because everyone's going to draft him high because of the situation there in the LA Rams offense. But that's a gamble you got to take sometimes. The next guy is DeAndre Swift. I can't tell you why I have a bad gut feeling about this guy. I just do. Okay? He's got the numbers. They're there. Let's look at him. 14 games played last year, 196 for 1218. He's averaging 6.2 a carry. But if you notice, over his 3 years, he went from 7.6 to 6.4 to 6.2. As he got more carries, his numbers went down. Is he an explosive player? No doubt. Is the talent there? No doubt. There is just something in my gut that says it won't translate to that impact level in the NFL. He also goes into a horrible situation with the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have had a merry-go-round carousel of running backs there over the last 10, 15, 20 years since Barry Sanders left. The guys usually have half a year to a year of good production, and then either they get injured or they just fall off the face of the earth. Keep in mind that Kerryon Johnson, who had a good rookie season, did not play last year due to injury, will be coming back and is supposed to be healthy. So that means that DeAndre Swift, even though drafted highly and even though an impactful player, may not get the bell cow carry touches that a running back of his stature should get. And the Detroit Lions offense is hit and miss. Matt Stafford is a good quarterback. He is surrounded by weapons. Kenny Golladay looks to be one of the up-and-coming receivers and deep threats in the league. I just am not 100% confident in DeAndre Swift. However, situation-based, this guy's going to be an immediate fantasy impact barring injury. So let's go on to our next. Flex appeal with stud potential. Zach Moss jumps off the paper to me. All right. Two little windows down here. We got the rushing stats for teams in the NFL last year. The Buffalo Bills were 8th overall for all teams in the NFL with rushing last year. Yes, Josh Allen is a mobile quarterback, and yes, Josh Allen accounts for a big portion of that. But that is also because Devin Singletary got banged up. I mean, I think those numbers would have been up if Singletary was healthy all year. He was an explosive rookie running back, averaging crazy numbers. But here's what to keep in mind. The Buffalo Bills are a defensive team. Okay, Josh Allen should not be relied upon to win games for the Buffalo Bills. He should just win games when he needs to. The Buffalo Bills have a top 2 probably defense in the league, and they got better again this year through the draft. So we look at this guy's production in college, 4-year production. Obviously not a starter in that first year, but if you look, he had 214, 179, and 235 carries respectively after that. In his senior season, he averaged 6 yards a carry, putting up 1,400 plus yards with 15 touchdowns rushing. He also caught 28 balls for 388 yards with 2 other touchdowns. So not only is this guy 5'9", 223, running a 4.6, 540, he can catch the ball. I'm not saying he's going to be relied upon heavily to do that in the Buffalo offense with Devin Singletary there. However, it's proof in the pudding that he can do so when called upon. Singletary is not built to be an every down back. He is probably best used in a 5 to 10 touch situation per game. or at least 5 to 10 carries. You could probably use him a little more on passing downs, but you don't want a smaller back like Devin Singletary to take the wear and tear. It obviously caught up with him last year. So if you want to keep your 1-2 punch going, Zach Moss is going to get a lot of touches right out of the gate for the Buffalo Bills, who are a defensive team and will probably try to play ball control for the majority of the games. Zach Moss has your flex appeal, probably getting 15 touches a game right out the gate, and your goal line, which is important in performance-based leagues. And then stud potential, because if Devin Singletary isn't living up to the hype of last year or gets injured again, this guy's a 30-touch-a-game beast. Keep that in mind. Next up, we have your flex appeal / PPR stud, Keyshawn Vaughn, running back, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We have a couple little windows here, and there's a reason for that. If we look at this contract that Ronald Jones is carrying here, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, yes, he is signed through 2021, which is next year. Very importantly, though, if you look at the pre-June 1st release, 2021 dead cap space is only $800,000. They would free up $1.4 million plus if they cut him before June 1st of next year. That is crazy. Ronald Jones hasn't done anything to jump off the paper to me as a phenomenal NFL running back. And if I could save $1.4 million by cutting a guy on a team that's built to win right now, I might do so. That's info number one. Info number two is if you look at the other side of this, we have productivity stats, and then we see Ronald Jones at the top. His run blocking efficiency was 62.7, number 48th in the league. James White, who Tom Brady, favorite passing down running back was last year and a couple of years before that, run blocking efficiency was 78.8, number 14th in the league. So Ronald Jones, 48th in the league, James White, 14th in the league. Keyshawn Vaughn was drafted specifically for that reason. He is a James White prototype running back who will be called upon in critical situations of the game to help Tom Brady have a security blanket underneath. Tampa Bay's line is not that great, and they have two great deep threat wide receivers, and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Okay, they also drafted a guy named Tyler Johnson. They have the offensive weapons there. Brady might need to get the ball out of his hands sometimes, and that's where Keyshawn Vaughn comes in. If he can chip block here and there and catch some little bubble screens after that, he's going to be a PPR stud, and he's going to have tremendous flex appeal in your other performance-based leagues. Next up is A.J. Dillon. He is our sleeper / dynasty gem, and here's why. This guy is 6 foot, 247, and runs a 4.5 40. He is a beast. Another think of Derrick Henry type back. Okay. More importantly, on the bottom of the screen, you see two current contract situations, both expiring in 2021, leaving the current running backs on the Green Bay roster as unrestricted free agents, and that is Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. Aaron Jones had a tremendous year last year, but let me explain to you how the NFL has changed. Because of guys like Jerick McKinnon and Todd Gurley not living up after signing big contracts, the NFL is going to start shying away for this. If I was a GM, I could tell you what, I am not dumping $100 million, $50 million, or whatever $1 million into a stud running back. They're a dime a dozen. Undrafted free agent stars come all the time, whether it be Arian Foster or some other guys that were drafted late recently or just undrafted free agent, Philip Lindsay. They're just a dime a dozen. You know, you can system-based anybody. All these guys that get Division I scholarships have talent. There's no doubt about that. So why spend $100 million? None of these guys are far and edge above anybody else. The Green Bay Packers just drafted Jordan Love. Okay, they're planning for the future. They know that it's a different NFL now, and they're not going to pay $100 million or $50 million to Aaron Jones. They drafted A.J. Dillon specifically for this. Jones is gone next year. They are not going to pay him. Jamal Williams never did anything. He was kind of just a hit or miss flex player for them. He's not getting re-signed. A.J. Dillon will be a fantasy stud at the latest next year. This guy's going to start getting touches this year. You might see Aaron Jones get shipped off for a 1 year, help somebody else win if the Green Bay Packers are tanking. And A.J. Dillon, at the latest, by next year, will become a fantasy stud in that offense. Last and not least, we have our deep sleeper, dynasty potential player, Darius Evans. There is no depth behind Derrick Henry in Tennessee. Derrick Henry is also a 300-plus carry beast who possibly could break down at some time. You know, it doesn't matter if you have a tank. If the wheels go, the tank goes. You're just a sitting duck at that point. So Darius Evans, out of opportunity and you know where he is, could possibly get a bunch of carries this year. Also, dynasty potential, who knows? Maybe Tennessee doesn't keep Henry long term. We don't know what's going to happen in that situation, all right? So, Darius Evans by default, if he has a good year this year, if he looks good in limited touches or Henry goes down, you could be looking at the next starting running back for the Tennessee Titans as of next year. This guy was the 2019 Sun Belt Football Offensive Player of the Year. If we take a look at his stats, 255 for 1480, he averaged 5.8 a carry. He also had 21 receptions for 198 and 5 touchdowns. That's a lot of touchdowns. Yes, I know Sun Belt is not the SEC. That's fine. We're not worried about that. This guy plugged into a team where he fits, and in a system where he fits, could be explosive. All right, he's 5'10", 203 with a 4.4 40. 4.4 for a running back is pretty impressive, especially when you're 5'10". So there's not many running backs that run a 4.3. So Darius Evans has the opportunity with Derrick Henry there to become a real fantasy relevant player if Henry goes down or if Henry doesn't stay next year. That's where the dynasty potential comes in. So that was it. That was our 2020 running back preview for fantasy potential this year. I'm telling you, I really like A.J. Dillon. To me, that guy's going to be a beast, and probably you won't even have to wait until next year to see those numbers. I think he's going to get goal line touches right away. I think he's going to get maybe 10 touches a game right away. I think by mid-season, you might even see Aaron Jones not on the team anymore, and that would leave a tremendous chunk of touches and touchdowns for Mr. A.J. Dillon. So, Trash Panda Sports, I hope you enjoyed our first fantasy analysis, fantasy prediction video. Remember, stay tuned. We're doing more card breaks and stuff soon, and we're going to have some more fantasy videos coming out before the season starts. Trash Panda Sports, Trash Panda out.